I need to vent because everyone around me thinks I'm the one who's lost it, and it's driving me up the wall. My name's Emily, I'm 30, and my marriage just imploded because, apparently, asking for a shred of respect makes me the bad guy. My husband, Michael, is 32. We've been married for 4 years, together for 8, and I genuinely believed we had something special until about 9 months ago when everything fell apart. Let me take you back to the start so you can see the mess I'm dealing with. Michael works in supply chain management for a retail company, and I'm a coordinator at a dental office. We're not swimming in money, but we're comfortable. Own a modest home in a quiet neighborhood, drive decent cars, living the middle-class dream. On the surface, Michael checks all the boxes. Loyal, dependable, pays his share, doesn't party too hard, always comes home. Sounds like a catch, right? But here's the thing nobody warns you about. Sometimes the perfect spouse can push you to the edge in ways you never expected. When Michael and I started dating, I was swept away by how much attention he gave me. He was always touching me, brushing my arm, holding my hand, telling me I was gorgeous. Every time I walked by, he'd pull me close or give me a playful pat. He'd whisper flirty things while I was making coffee or folding laundry, making me feel like I was the most desirable woman on the planet. At first, it was thrilling. My friends would complain about their partners ignoring them, while Michael acted like I was a movie star in sweatpants. He'd get flustered just kissing me goodbye in the morning, always commenting on how I looked in this dress or that pair of jeans. It made me feel adored, like I was the center of his universe. But around year 5, it started wearing me down. I couldn't do anything without it turning into something sexual. Hugging him, he'd press himself closer than necessary. Bending over to grab something from the fridge, he'd make a comment about my figure. Even when I was down with a cold, he'd still find ways to touch me in ways that felt out of place. It was like he couldn't see me as anything but a physical object. The tipping point had been brewing for a while. My job at the dental office is a pressure cooker dealing with insurance disputes, upset patients, demanding dentists, endless forms, and tight schedules. I'd come home drained, craving a moment to just be, without someone expecting something from me. But Michael would be waiting, ready to jump me the second I stepped through the door, not with a "how's your day," but with a "damn, you look good in those scrubs" that made me want to scream. He never asked about my work, the stress, or the patients who broke down in my office over their bills. Instead, he'd focus on my body, grabbing me while I was cooking or doing chores. I started dropping hints, brushing off his comments, stepping away when he got too handsy, making light remarks about how predictable he was. I thought he'd get it, that I needed space to feel like a person, not a fantasy. But Michael didn't pick up on it. The touching, the suggestive remarks, the way every conversation circled back to my looks, it never stopped. It was like he couldn't interact with me without making it about physical attraction. Was it really so hard for him to see me as more than a body? I tried talking to my best friend, Sarah, but she just laughed, saying she'd kill for a husband who still found her hot after 8 years. She didn't get it, how it feels to come home from a brutal day and be treated like a prop instead of a partner. My coworkers weren't much better. When I mentioned Michael's constant advances, they'd sigh about how their partners barely noticed them anymore. But that wasn't the issue. There's a difference between being wanted and being reduced to an object, and Michael had crossed that line long ago that I started noticing how he was with other people, his buddies, coworkers, even strangers at the coffee shop. He was engaging, asked questions, listened. But with me, it was all about how I looked or how much he wanted me. It was like he'd forgotten I had thoughts, dreams, or feelings that weren't tied to his desires. 9 months ago, I hit my breaking point. Work was a nightmare. Our scheduling system went down, and I was staying late every night, trying to fix it while juggling furious patients and stressed-out staff. I was barely holding it together, just trying to get through basic tasks at home without collapsing. One evening, I was in the bedroom folding Michael's work clothes when he came up behind me, slid his arms around my waist, and started kissing my neck. I could feel him getting aroused, and something in me just snapped. I was drowning in work stress, and here he was, treating me like a stress relief toy instead of asking if I was okay. I spun around and said, "I'm so tired of you turning everything into something sexual. It's exhausting." The words came out sharp, but I was done. He looked stunned, like I'd slapped him, but I kept going. I can't even fold laundry without you getting handsy. I'm a person, Michael, not just a body for you to touch whenever you want. I have real problems, real stress, and all you care about is getting turned on. He tried to defend himself, saying he was just showing affection, that he couldn't help how attracted he was to me. But I wasn't having it. That's the problem, I said. You can't control yourself. You don't ask about my day or my stress. You just grab me like I'm here for your entertainment. Do you even realize you haven't asked how I'm handling this work crisis? But you sure don't miss a chance to comment on my body. Michael looked hurt, saying he thought I liked the attention, that his attraction was a compliment. But I was too angry to care. There's a difference between love and treating me like an object, I told him. Love means seeing me as a whole person, not just a body. From now on, I need you to stop with the constant touching and comments. I need you to respect me as a person, not a sex object. He stood there, silent, then nodded and said he'd try to be more mindful. I felt empowered, like I'd finally stood up for myself. That night, he slept on the couch, saying he wanted to give me space. I thought it was a sign he was taking me seriously, and I went to bed feeling like we'd had a breakthrough. But the next morning, things fell off. Michael was polite, but distant. He didn't make my usual coffee, didn't hug me goodbye, barely looked at me. I figured he was adjusting to the new boundaries. Days turned into weeks, and his behavior became the new normal. No compliments, no touches, no flirty remarks. Nothing. He'd stopped showing any sign that he found me attractive. At first, I thought this was what I wanted, but it started feeling cold, like I was invisible. When I tried to talk about finding a balance, he'd say, "I'm just trying to respect your boundaries," but his tone fell off, like he was deliberately misunderstanding me. I started missing the affection, not the over-the-top groping, but the warmth, the feeling of being desired. When I brought it up, he'd act confused, saying, "I thought you said my attraction was a problem." It was infuriating. He was doing what I asked, but twisting it into something that left me feeling rejected. The worst part? Michael seemed fine with it. He wasn't fighting to reconnect or find a middle ground. He just accepted this new, distant dynamic, like he didn't care about our emotional or physical connection. Our conversations became transactional bills, schedules, errands. We were like roommates, and he seemed perfectly okay with that. Meanwhile, I felt lonelier than ever, wondering if I'd made a mistake. 3 months into this standoff, I was more isolated than I'd ever been. I watched other couples, noticing their easy affection, and wondered if I'd been wrong to set boundaries. Was Michael wrong for shutting down completely, or was I wrong for expecting him to find a compromise? At the 5-month mark, Michael announced he was going on a business trip to Seattle. Normally, we text constantly and miss each other, but this time, he seemed almost eager to leave. I was relieved too, which scared me. While he was gone, we barely communicated, just a few texts about his travel plans. No, I miss you. No excitement about coming home. It felt like we were both fine being apart. When he returned, something had shifted. He was polite but even more distant, unpacking his bags methodically, answering my questions with short, clipped responses. The next evening, he asked to talk and my heart sank. At our dining table, he looked serious, almost attached. "I did a lot of thinking in Seattle," he said. "I don't think we're right for each other anymore." The words hit like a punch. I try to stay calm. "What do you mean? We've been together 8 years. We've always been right for each other." He shook his head. "We used to be, but we want different things now. I want to be with someone who appreciates how I express love, not someone who thinks it's wrong. I want to feel wanted, not like I'm walking on eggshells." I tried to explain I didn't mean to reject him, but he cut me off. In Seattle, at a networking event, a woman was interested in me. Nothing happened, but she made me feel valued, like I was worth talking to. It made me realize how unhappy I've been. "You're leaving me for some random woman?" I snapped. "No," he said. "I'm leaving because I remembered what it feels like to be appreciated. I'm leaving because I'm tired of feeling like a creep for loving my wife." I argued that I just wanted balance, but he countered, I never saw you as just a body. I saw you as the most incredible woman I've ever known. But you made my love feel wrong, and now I can't even touch you without worrying I'm crossing a line." His words stung because there was truth in them. Had I overreacted? Had I pushed him away by focusing on my discomfort? He said we wanted different things now, me, a relationship prioritizing emotional connection. Him, one where he could express attraction freely. "Neither of us is wrong," he said, "but we're not right for each other." I panicked, suggesting counseling, a vacation, anything. But he was done. "I'm tired of suppressing who I am to make you comfortable," he said. "I'm done." The next few weeks were hell, arguments, tears, my desperate attempts to change his mind. I suggested therapy, promised to be more affectionate, but he was unmoved. "It's too late," he'd say. "You can't undo the past 9 months." He filed for divorce and moved into a small apartment across town. The process was quick. We had no kids, and our finances were simple. He didn't fight for anything, just wanted out. I kept expecting him to come back, but he seemed happier with every step away from me, and my friends and family were baffled. They'd always liked Michael and thought we were solid. When I explained he left because I asked him to stop objectifying me, they looked at me like I was crazy. 4 months after he moved out, I saw him at a supermarket with a woman, maybe 28, effortlessly pretty, completely at ease with him. They were laughing, his arm around her, and he looked happy, like the Michael I'd fallen for 8 years ago. She didn't flinch when he whispered to her or kissed her cheek. She leaned into it, glowing. Watching them, I realized I'd lost the man I loved because I couldn't find a way to communicate my needs without shutting him down. He wasn't miserable without me, he was thriving. The divorce finalized 3 months later. Michael's new relationship was serious, and my attempts to win him back, showing up at his place, calling him, begging, were pathetic. He'd moved on. Now, a year later, I'm still single, still angry. I see Michael and his girlfriend on social media, traveling to places we dreamed of, looking happy. She gets the Michael I helped shape, while I'm left explaining to dates why my marriage failed. They don't understand, and I see the same confusion in their eyes as in my friends. Michael probably tells people I was impossible to please, but he leaves out how he made me feel like an object. Still, I wonder if I pushed him away by not finding a middle ground. I tell myself I'm free from a relationship that made me uncomfortable, but most days, I'm not sure I believe it.